Survival games are the best genre, but they have a big issue. Most of them are too easy, so I went out my way to find the hardest survival games ever made. I have made a tier list going from really easy to impossible to find the answer we all want to know. What is the hardest survival game ever made? If you haven't watched the full series, I would recommend catching yourself up on that before we start. But today we're going to look at some new games. We have Palworld, Ark Ascended, Conan Exiles, No Man's Sky, Subnautica Below Zero, RLcraft, and Unturned. I will be putting each game on this tier list. We have Can't Even Die, very easy, difficult, this is getting hard now, very hard, and of course impossible. Let's get straight into it. Up first we have Palworld. If you haven't heard of this game before, it's basically Pokemon with guns. Palworld does a great job at guiding you on what to do. You even have a taskbar in the top right. In Palworld you collect all these pals. Well, come on, it's basically Pokemon, let's be honest. And you can use these to fight, and of course you can make guns. But starting off is not too hard. It does the normal survival stuff. The real difficulty is nowhere near the start. You should glide through all of this. But once you start getting deeper into this game, it can become very hard. For example, some bosses, if you're not at least the same level, you may as well go kill Constant Radon.
Oh, hell no!
Every bullet and arrow you shoot, you lose. So if you die in these fights, you have to go all the way back and start farming again. The main difficulty with fighting the bosses is they have way too much health, and you have a time limit for all these fights. You're going to be there shooting back and forth for a good few minutes. Now before I continue on explaining the game, I think Palworld is one of the funnest survival games out there. If you haven't played this before, I would definitely recommend it. Does this monkey with an AK not make you want to play this game? But when it comes to survival and building, it's some of the easiest on this list. You can make a base in 5 minutes, and with pals working for you, you will never struggle with starving to death. The only survival issue will be cold and heat, I guess, but still at that, it's nothing compared to all these other games. While there's some difficult aspects to Palworld, you should be okay until around mid-game, but late game is when it starts to get really tough. Most of the boss towers are very annoying, and it's just an endurance test. But overall, Palworld is one of the easiest on the survival aspect, but can be very difficult to do enough damage to the bigger bosses. So overall, I'm going to put Palworld into the difficult tier. Now next up we have Ark Ascended, not Evolved. This is the DLC for Ark, and because a lot of you guys wanted to see this, we're going to talk about it today. If you don't know anything about Ark, it is an over-the-top futuristic survival game that has many different dinosaurs and creatures. This game is very deep. There is a whole lot to understand when it comes to Ark. In my last video I put Ark in a very hard tier, so let's see if Ascended lives up to the Evolved. Ark Ascended has a lot of quality of life changes, the main ones being better performance and server support. When we talk about console, it was very difficult to even move with the blinding sun and low FPS. It was a struggle. When it comes to difficulty though, it's pretty much the same for the OG. It's all based on the servers you play on. If you play Ark as the developers intended it, whether it's a DLC or not, your experience will go like this: spawning and then dying to some sort of dinosaur. Especially in the DLC, if you don't know what to do when you start, you will struggle a whole lot. And you will have to do a lot of grinding, especially if you're on hard difficulty. But once you get a few hours into the game and you start to understand things more, the OG things from Ark like supply drops are actually better in this game. And it's honestly kind of OP. In my experience of Ark Ascended, I didn't struggle as much as I did in Evolved. Now why is this? Well, I just know what to do now. But for beginners, both games are very difficult and has a massive learning curve, and you will find yourself looking up a lot of information on your phone. While Ascended fixes a lot of performance issues and a whole lot of animations and basically feels like a brand new game, the difficulty aspect is always going to be there. So I'm going to put this right beside OG Ark. Both Ark games are very difficult, but how will it compare to Conan Exiles? Conan is a Souls-like survival game with a massive world with a whole lot of secrets to unfold, biomes are very harsh, and enemies are pretty strong. Starting off in Conan isn't too bad. You have to worry about all the normal nuisances like food, heat, but the unique point Conan has is it focuses heavily on combat. Majority of this game you'll be fighting ridiculous creatures. It is very important to know your character's limits. Just don't mess with creatures that are stronger than you because you will die. The map is massive in this game, but if you just stay to your character's limits, you won't die. I didn't find Conan Exiles that difficult. If you can dodge and manage your stamina well, you should be okay. When starting off in this game, you'll be doing a whole lot of running, which can be definitely annoying. While Conan Exiles is fun and unique, let's talk about the performance for a second. I thought Ark was a struggle. Conan is one of those games you play for a bit and get sick of the constant crashes and bugs, delete it, and then play again a few months later. So Conan, in my opinion, is the worst for performance, and I didn't have a great time playing this game. I understand how difficult the game can be later on, but I didn't struggle too much personally. It was just a lot of bugs. So it's going into the difficult tier again. Now next up is an interesting one that went from an underwhelming game to one of the best survival games out there. It's No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is an action-adventure survival game set in space, all about exploration and building with an almost infinite world. But surprisingly, it wasn't always like that. No Man's Sky had a tough release. The devs promised thousands of hours of content, but there was just not that much to do. So when it first released, people were not happy and got bad reviews, and a lot of people were very rightfully mad. While the developers had a really rough first year, they managed to bring this game from the muck to a very solid game, with no sign of stopping anywhere soon. It just keeps getting quality of life updates and lots of new content. But today we're talking about difficulty. You can change difficulty as much as you want in this game, but no matter how easy you make it, the first good few hours are hard and confusing.
What?
Not actual survival wise, but just trying to process everything this game has to offer. You will definitely be looking up hundreds of different things because it doesn't give you much help at all, and you have to discover everything yourself. This game has an amazing storyline and a whole lot of exploration to do. If you play normal difficulty, this game is very easy. You won't die. Now if you play it on a bit harder settings, you will struggle a little bit more, but overall this game is easy. The real difficulty is honestly just understanding what to do. No Man's Sky has its own unique difficulty, but I can't ignore how easy this game actually is fundamentally. So I'm going to put it into the very easy tier. No Man's Sky is all about space, but what if we look at something even more terrifying below our feet? It's Subnautica Below Zero. Now Below Zero is one of the most frustrating games I've ever played. Not because of its difficulty, just from pure disappointment. In my other video I talked about how much I love Subnautica, but Below Zero does not share that same love for me. You see, Below Zero did everything wrong compared to Subnautica. The map is smaller, the movement is slower, Leviathans are so underwhelming, and the main problem is it's so easy. The reason we love to play survival games is because of its difficulty most of the time. Below Zero is the easiest game I've played when it comes to survival games. Subnautica has its difficult aspects and definitely a big fear factor, but Below Zero really has nothing. It's just all about grinding. Unsatisfying storyline, small creatures. I could talk about everything this game did wrong for days. The story is annoyingly bad, and honestly an AI could do a better job. Everything good about the original Subnautica, the environment, the massive creatures, the amazing story gets all taken away in Below Zero. I really just hope Subnautica 2 is actually good, because what a terrible and easy survival game. Below Zero, I don't even want to look at you, you're going right in the bottom of the tier. Now moving on, let's talk about an actual good game. This is a full-blown mod for Minecraft. People were upset about how I explained easy vanilla Minecraft is, so let's talk about a really difficult game. It's RL Craft. Now before I talk about RL Craft, if you're enjoying the video, if you could subscribe, it can make a massive difference to me. Thank you for watching in the first place. Let's get right back into it. RL Craft, also known as Real Life Craft, is an unforgiving mod for one of the most popular games ever made, Minecraft. RL Craft has one goal: make you want to delete it after 5 minutes. Because the start of this mod is the least forgiving out of all the games you've looked at. I can't express how unforgiving RL Craft really is. When it comes to making survival game, there's a balance between difficulty while keeping it fair and fun. RL Craft does not believe in those two words at all, and just wants you dead quickly as possible. Starting off is definitely the hardest part. Once you survive the first few nights, you can finally focus on progressing by killing bosses and getting stronger. But in every second you play this game, you need to be aware, because some stupidly OP mob can fly in and insta-kill you. You have to be careful with every living creature, because you really don't know what wants to kill you. Besides the obvious difficulty this game has, this mod pack is really impressive and can be really rewarding. If you don't die a million times, that is. But overall this might be one of the hardest mods, full stop. So in my opinion, it really deserves the impossible tier, due to just how unfair this game really is. Sticking to the Minecraft team now, you guys really wanted to see Unturned. Unturned is a zombie survival game that looks a good bit like Minecraft. While I say a lot of people don't know about this game, I played this a lot when I was younger, and let's say it was really fun back then. This game is recommended to play in multiplayer, and you have to loot up in the zombie infested world. The goal is to be the last person or last group standing. Now what really makes Unturned difficult is the other players in the game. The actual survival aspect isn't difficult at all. My experience, all I had to do was just go to a city and get food, and honestly you're chilling. Now unfortunately, if you try to play this game right now today, you will struggle to find a good server. A lot of them are crashed and are pretty dead. The overall difficulty of Unturned isn't that bad. The actual survival aspect is easy to manage, it's just more PvP based now. Even though I loved the game when I was younger, it did not age well in my opinion. But because the players are like this in this game, I think it deserves to go into the difficult tier. Let's have a look at the tier list. We have Can't Even Die, Below Zero has been added in there. We have Very Easy, we have No Man's Sky there. In the difficult tier, we've seen 3 new games. We have seen Palworld, Conan Exiles, and Unturned. In the very hard tier, we have Ark Ascended, and in the impossible tier, we have added RL Craft into the mix. Thank you all for watching to the very end. My apologies for not uploading in 2 weeks. Now, if you want to see more content like this is a full playlist of all these different ranking videos I've made. Now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you have a good day. Peace.